Hello guys, how are you doing today? Dr. Erica Judge Edwards here, board certified family practice physician and also the mother of Carl Emery and the founder of Carl Emery's World, and also an autism advocate in addition to being an autism mom. So today I'm going to break my video down in 3 parts. So this week I shared that Carl saw her developmental pediatrician, and I had a question asking me what is a developmental pediatrician and how do you know if a child needs to see a developmental pediatrician. So I'll start by answering the first question, which is what is a developmental pediatrician? And this is part 1. So a developmental pediatrician is a pediatrician that specializes in evaluating children for developmental conditions or if their family has any developmental concerns. So they'll basically assess for anything that can impact learning. So that assessment might be for autism, it might be for ADHD, it might be for dyslexia, it might be for a learning disability, and then sometimes that might include mental health behaviors or conditions. Typically, a developmental pediatrician will be a pediatrician who has some extra training specifically in children's development. They might have a background in child psychiatry. They might have a background in child neurology. And so Carl does see a developmental pediatrician every 6 months because she is autistic. So the next part would be, how do you know if your child needs to see a developmental pediatrician, and why does Carl see a developmental pediatrician? So Carl was evaluated for autism at the Marcus Autism Center. This is an academic health center, a part of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta in Atlanta, Georgia. And so she was evaluated here, and then she was referred to the developmental pediatricians who are in-house already. And so she's been seeing them every 6 months since she got her diagnosis. Now, some people might live in a more rural area or might live in a small city where a developmental pediatrician might not be readily available. It also might not be ideal for that person to use additional resources to travel for their child to see a developmental pediatrician. Now, I do know people who live in South Carolina who come across state lines for their children to be seen at the Marcus Autism Center. I also know individuals who come from Alabama or come from rural parts of Georgia. But if this is not ideal for your family, it might not be something that you necessarily have to do. A lot of times, general pediatricians in smaller cities or more rural areas are more than comfortable taking care of a variety of conditions that impact children. If your pediatrician is comfortable taking care of your child and they have the proper therapies in place, such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA therapy, and all of your needs are being met, then you might be okay seeing your general pediatrician. If there aren't any pressing concerns, you might also be okay seeing your general pediatrician. And then, sometimes, the general pediatrician can handle most of it, and they might decide to refer you out to child psychiatry or child neurology, depending on what's going on. And then they might tell you, okay, I think that you should see a developmental pediatrician. But the main point is to speak to your general pediatrician and just discuss if all of your needs are currently being met under their care, or if you need to see someone additional. But if you do live in a larger city and there's an academic center close by, you might be referred to a developmental pediatrician, or you might opt to see one, and that is perfectly okay. So the third part of this video is, what does an appointment look like? So when I speak, I'm speaking from the standpoint of myself as an autism mom, my husband as an autism dad, and Carl as an autistic young lady. So when she sees her developmental pediatrician, We go into the room, and then the doctor will ultimately come in the room. Now, her developmental pediatrician has a background in child psychiatry. And so when she comes in, she will give Carl a bin of toys. And then she'll sit and we will all talk. So Carl will play with these toys throughout the duration of the appointment. And then the pediatrician, my husband, and myself, we have a conversation. So she will ask us things such as, what extracurricular activities is Carl in? How is potty training going? She'll suggest extracurricular activities. For example, she thought that, gymnastics might be a good fit for Carl because she can jump around, play, still have the space to be an individual, and I think that's a good idea. So we're going to look into that. She asked us about preschool. What are our plans for next year? She gave us some options. She talks to us about various programs such as, Carl getting her pull-ups covered through Medicaid. She talks to us about various things in the community, such as the Atlanta Braves having an autism-friendly environment and a specific program for autistic children. Once when we went, they gave us free tickets to the zoo for Carl to go see the animals. So it's really just a comprehensive visit, just assessing Carl's well-being and giving us tools and resources to make sure that, she's getting a well-balanced, healthy childhood. She also asks us about, what progress we've noticed in Carl, if we have any concerns. The main thing that I wanted to talk about this time was hyperactivity and autism versus ADHD, because I was trying to figure out, is Carl hyper because she's autistic, or is there a co-diagnosis of ADHD? And at what point is medicine considered? And so we talked through that. And after talking through all of that, we did determine that Carl does not have ADHD. She's not showing any features of it at the present time. And also that there's no indication, for medication at this present time. Just because of, the times in which she is showing hyperactivity, and the fact that most of the time she can focus, she does really well in school, and so it really seems to be self-limited, and she can be redirected with the proper accommodations, with no problems whatsoever. So we did talk about that. And then, so when it comes to Carl playing during the appointments, there's a bin of toys and she just goes in and plays. So the last time, she picked up 2 dinosaurs out of the bins of toys. She let them face one another and she just kind of said, roar, roar. And then she brought them up to her dad and she showed her dad and she said, roar. And her dad roared back. And so this was really good because the developmental pediatrician was able to see, okay, she picked 2 toys that match. They're parts of a set. She articulated the animal sound. She engaged her father in play. And one of the things that I like about these appointments is that they are able to elicit Carl's skill set in a natural way, with her playing naturally. And so they don't have her sitting at a table saying, what's this? What's that? Stack this, put this under that. It's more so putting the bins of toys out, letting her spontaneously play and eliciting what her skill set is from that spontaneous play. And so Carl isn't under any pressure and she's just having a good time. From her standpoint, she's there playing. So this time she went into the bin, she grabbed a teapot, she grabbed 2 teacups, she brought one teacup to me, one to her dad, she poured us some tea, we took turns drinking the tea. So once again, the developmental pediatrician was able to see, she picked parts of a set, she took them to her parents, she engaged them in play, and then she started to do back and forth pretend play with them. And so that was a lot of really good information evaluation for her to see where Carl currently is and how Carl is doing. And so when we go to the appointment, she will be able to see, okay, is she cleaving to her parents? Is she not comfortable around strangers? And so she was able to, get a lot of this information. And so then at the end, she looked at Carl and she said, okay, we're done. High five. And then Carl put her hand up and she gave her a high five. And so that's another piece of information that she was able to ascertain. Carl responded when she offered Carl a high five. She faced her, she looked at her, she completed the action. And so it really is a stress-free appointment. At the end, they ask if we have any questions and we're done. And of course, they give us the opportunity, if there's any questions that come up, to send them messages via the electronic medical record. And so that's typically how the appointments go. And so if your general pediatrician is able to, take care of the bulk of things and just have you see a specialist when it's time for reevaluations and assessments, again, I think that's perfectly fine. But I do think it's just based on your individual needs. But I would say start by having that conversation with your general pediatrician. Have a nice day.